This video will be looking at the DTB Modena Wick Trader trending baseline strategy. So the first thing we actually do is we set up a trending baseline. So if you want to trade this strategy, you would need to set up a trending baseline chart. So to set up a trending baseline chart, you go into your data series, you select the DTB bars, and you put a smaller value on top and a larger value at the bottom. So I'm going to be using a 1-3-30 in this example. So that'll create a trending baseline chart. Now you can also choose how many days you want to run. I have it on just 1,000 bars on the chart when I'm loading it, just so that it has less data to actually load. I'm also going to be using the PlayBack Connection to run this strategy so we can look at how the strategy actually functions and enters positions. So going into the strategy settings, when you load it up, it's going to just have some default settings that are just put there because there are some settings that need to be in place. If you remember the main indicator, if you remember the DTB trend retracement trades indicator that we discussed in one of the indicator videos, this is the indicator that the strategy uses. So same features as previous strategies with the buttons. We've got the button positioning that can be selected. I'm just going to reduce that for now. This strategy also has a daily profit target and a daily max loss. It's got that retracement value, so that is the DTB trend retracement trades indicator. That's the value that you would select for the price to retrace to enter a position. This strategy does have the ATM feature also installed. Again, with the ATM feature, it will pause the strategy the moment an ATM order has been submitted, because as we discussed before, the ATM interface does not communicate back with the automated strategy to let it know what positions are open, if the targets have been hit or not. So the safest bet is just to pause the strategy once the ATM has been submitted. So it's still going to enter orders based on the rules of the strategy. So when it retraces its value, it's going to enter a position through to the ATM if you've got an ATM selected, but then it will automatically pause it. So the exact same rules will follow. It'll just pause it after it's been submitted. Our next settings we're looking at over here is the minimum distance from baseline to enter position. So if you look at the candle, so this is the baseline running over here. So you can see this is what I call the baseline of price. So the price is going to run, it's going to form these wicks, and it's going to run up in price, it's going to form wicks, it's going to continue on until it breaks a baseline in a different direction. But that is what we are looking at when we are looking at the settings, is the minimum distance from baseline to enter position. So that is how far the price has to travel down the wick or up the wick in the case of a trending baseline going down. But because we're looking at the trending baseline going up, we'll just use it in this example. So minimum distance from baseline to enter a position, how far the price would need to go down before it starts looking at entering positions. So that's the minimum distance. I'm going to just use a 33 in this example. It's 10% of the baseline. Then you also have a maximum distance from baseline to enter position. So on this chart, I'm going to put in 300. So what will happen is between 33 and 300, that's where the entries will actually be entered. So whatever value baseline you're putting in on your chart, you can select your minimum and maximum values in the settings so that you can target very specific areas of the wick, of the candle. So I refer to this as the wick. So obviously the candle, then it's got a wick. So you can choose what section of the wick you want to actually target. So if you want to only target the bottom 50 ticks, you can go 280, so you can have your minimum distance as 280, and you can have your maximum distance as 320 as an example. So that will be 40 ticks. So if you want to target 40 ticks of the baseline, or of the wick should I say, then it will only enter positions after 280 ticks have passed, and it will not enter any positions beyond the 320 tick marker. So in this way you can actually target very specific sections of the candle, and then by doing that you can also have different strategies loaded on your chart. So you can actually have a few instances of the strategy loaded on your chart. You can actually have 3 instances, and then all you need to do is position the buttons top, middle and bottom. So you will see 3 strategies on the chart, and you can target different areas of that candle, and each having their own setting. So you can have an ATM attached to each of those specific sections of the wick. You can have max entries per direction, which we've still got to look at. So that is an option for advanced users who want to run with that. But for now we're just going to run the one section of the wick. So we're going to just target one section and let it run from there. Alright, so that is that. So I'm going to set this one up while we're working. So I'm going to put a 33 retracement on this, and that's just a number that I've selected, which works out to 10% of the bar. And I'm going to be using a minimum distance, like we said, as 33. Maximum distance, I'm going to select 300. Now stop ticks. So the stop ticks that you enter in this section of the settings is basically any value that is beyond the maximum distance from the baseline. So if you've got 300 in there, it will basically be just before, it'll basically be 30 ticks away from where the baseline would go to break to a new baseline. So as long as your stop ticks is beyond that value, you'll be okay. So as an example, if you were only targeting 100 ticks on the wick, between 100 and 200 as an example, then you could put your stop at 220. But in this case, I'm going to actually make the stop where the price would need to go to break the baseline, and also a little bit of leeway in case we have a situation where the price goes down, breaks the baseline, runs a little bit, and then goes straight up again, and to continue with the previous baseline. So I'm going to make that as a 340 value. Now space out entries. We're going to use this on one of the runs, one of the playback runs. But the space out entries, if you select this box and you put a value in there, what it will do is it will enter positions up and down the candle, but it will space out any orders by a minimum value of this value. So if you put in 100 as an example, there will only be one order every 100 ticks. There won't be any more orders within 100 ticks of each other. So that is that setting. I'm going to use this later on, so I'm just going to leave this at its default for now. I'm not going to tick the box. We've also got a used fixed target on wick. Okay, so what this is you can select a fixed target of where you want all the entries to exit. So the price can run up and down the wick. It can enter trades based on the retracement value, and then all the targets would be 5 ticks away from the baseline. So this setting over here, so fixed target ticks to baseline. So how many ticks to the baseline do you want the target to be? So when the price is returning to the baseline, the fixed target will be 5 ticks away. Again, you can choose your different values. So you could have a fixed target to any value of the wick. Again, if you're segmenting the candle and you want to choose very specific entry points of the candle, you can target very specific values too by adjusting this. Okay, so if you do not use the fixed target, then you select a target for individual entries. So every single position that's going to be entered by the strategy will have an individual target if you do not use the fixed target. So I'm going to use a 300 target for each entry on this wick. Now, max entries per direction. So this setting here is an updated setting that basically overrides the bottom section here of entries per direction. So you see at the bottom of the chart, it says, of the settings, it says this is the standard NinjaTrader interface where it says entries per direction. It's not a very good feature, so I've overridden that feature and I've created one called max entries per direction. So what the max entries per direction does is it will enter positions up to that value. So it'll enter up to 10 positions. And what will happen is if you've got shorter targets, or any target for that matter, and one of those trades exits at its target, and another one exits at its target, what normally happens is the NinjaTrader will stay at 8 positions. It won't go back to 10 until the balance of the orders have actually closed. So what this setting does is it will keep entering positions up until the maximum. So whatever maximum you set, it'll enter 10. So it could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It could drop down to 7 positions, and then it could enter another 3 positions. So it'll go up to 10. So that's a pretty cool feature. If you don't, you can just choose the amount that you want to put in there. I'm going to leave it at 10 in this example. Trade size is just the quantity of each contract. So this is one lot contracts. These draw min-max markers. So those are the markers to determine, or those are the markers that draw the lines for the minimum distance and maximum distance. So those are just the markers that we're going to see on the chart in a moment. There's an auto start button, which means that during market hours, it will automatically start the strategy. We do have wait until flat synchronize account, so it's not going to immediately enter a position, even if this is selected. It's only going to enter a position once that retracement value has been filled. We've got time slots in the strategy as well. So there's 2 time slots. So you can choose the first one or the second one or both. And you can trade very specific trading hours. So this one, as an example, is from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. An important thing to know with the time slots is that you cannot trade from PM hours to AM hours. It's just not capable. There's no capabilities for doing that. I don't know if it's a NinjaTrader thing or it's a Microsoft thing. I'm not sure. But if you put in PM hours and then you put 2 AM, it will not enter any positions and nothing will work. So if you want to enter, say for example, you want to trade the Asian session, you could put there 6:15 AM. I always put 15 minutes after the market open. So you can trade from 6:15 PM, okay, which is the open, and you can trade to 11:59 PM, and then you can trade from, so that'll go up until to midnight, and then you can go from 12:01 AM and then you can trade all the way to 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. We'll make it 4 p.m. So that's how you would set it up. So what will happen is wherever the time is, if it's already past these hours, it will only start trading from 12:01 to 4. You just cannot put the AM, you cannot put the PM to AM, but you can put it like this. So that is a way to get around that. So you can choose specific trading hours within your within the day. Just set them up over here, and what will actually happen? So this is not really meant for the continuous trading between these two time slots. What will happen is if you are using these time slots, it will actually exit the position that's open when the first lot of time slot is finished. So this is designed to trade from like 6 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. and then from say 8 a.m. to whatever p.m. And what will happen is it will enter positions between 6:15 p.m. and 11:59 p.m. and any position that's open at 11:59, when it hits clocks over to 12, which is 1 minute later, it's going to exit any position that's open. And then what will happen, it will start trading at 8:01 a.m. again. It will start looking for positions from then, and it will trade all the way up until 4 p.m. At 4:01 p.m. or just after 4 p.m. it will exit any open positions that you have. So this is very, very cool because you can target specific trading hours. So when you're doing a lot of research or you're doing a lot of playback and you're doing a lot of testing, you can see through your testing which specific hours have historically been very good for this strategy, and actually any of the strategies. So this double time slot feature has been added to all the strategies. So that is a really good thing. Okay, so we're working on the playback account. We're not going to use the time slots in this next, the running of it, the first running of it. And we've got the, we're working on each tick, and we're doing wait until flat synchronize account. Now I'm going to just post a short little slide that will show you the settings that we are using in this video. So I'm going to just enable this right now. I'm going to just quickly run through the settings. There's one last thing I wanted to actually do. I wanted to deactivate the daily target and stop. So I'm just going to add a 0 there. So I don't want it to exit when it hits its daily target or stop. I want it to run the entire time that we've got the playback for and watch the results. So that's the only thing I'm changing out over there. And I'm going to be activating it, enabling it, and apply. Alright, so that is what it looks like once you have loaded a strategy with whatever settings you are using. So there's also an indicator that you can put on your chart called the DTB ticks above below baseline, which we added. And that's going to show you the yellow line is where the baseline starts and where the price would need to go for the baseline to break. And you've also got a tick distance counter, which is this number over here that tells you how far price is away from the baseline. Okay, so that's regarding the little indicators on there. You don't have to have these on. They do help though when you want to, when you're looking at just a snapshot of where price is. So again, I mentioned that this is the zone. So this is the minimum marker and the maximum marker. So anywhere between there and there is where trades will enter on this candle. And it's gonna wait 33 ticks. So this will be 33 ticks away from there. And the maximum is going to be 300 ticks. So that'll be 300 ticks away. And then there's the 330 for where the price will go to break. The stop is going to be at 340, so just beyond that. So So that is what the strategy looks like once it's been run. Obviously, if you've got different size charts, you will have different values on your chart, but this is the gist of how it's actually going to look. All right, so the next, we're going to just look at the playback now. So I'm going to post a little a screenshot, or I'm going to just post a slide for the values that we're going to be using in our first running. Okay, so I'm going to run the playback now. It's going to start on the Sunday, so we have to wait just for the hours to start. It's going to start at 6 p.m. But as soon as it starts, I'm going to just pause it and review a few of the trades that were entered, and then let it fast forward for the rest of the time, for the rest of the week, and then we'll review it at the end too. So I've set it to automatically start. So it will automatically start trading once within the market hours. So there is, it's coming to 5 p.m. We want to go to 6. Okay, so that's 6 p.m. So it's immediately had a retracement on the speed of the bars. So it's entered its first position. We're going to let this run, and it's going to continue. So what it's going to be doing now is it's going to be looking at positions based on a retracement. So the price has to drop and then rise up 33 ticks for it to enter a position. So that's what's going to happen. So every time the price retraces 33 ticks, it will enter a position up to a maximum of 10 entries per direction. So as you can see, the price retraced. Now in this situation, we do not have the space out entry. So it will just enter every single time the price retraces 33 ticks. So sometimes what can happen is those orders could be very close together. So we're going to review the results of this after it has run, and then on a future run we will actually look at using that space out entries and just compare the different results. Alright, so I'm going to just pop this on fast forward now, and then you can watch it run, and at the end we'll actually evaluate it. Okay, so the playback has just run for that entire period. Now we can go ahead and first look at the results of what it actually did. So I'll bring up the history. So the strategy performance real time. So that is what the strategy would have entered during that period. So looking at the performance, it entered 205 total trades at a 60.9% accuracy rate, 125 winning and 80 losing. An average of almost 50 trades per day. So looking at the analysis, it started off with losing positions. It actually lost $8,500 in the first day. Made zero profit in the first day, 0% profitable. And then the following day made 7, 8. Next day made 28, made 43, 3 and 3. Okay, so I also noticed during the playback that it actually stopped at a daily profit target. So I just want to have a look at that. So I'm just looking at the daily profit target exit. Okay, so that is, I saw it at exit over there. So we'll have a look at that in a moment. So that is the history of the specific trades during that session, or during that week. With the max drawdown being 18.6, 19.6, slight difference between what it's saying there with the drawdown and what this is saying. But that's okay. What else are we looking at? So let's have a look at the analysis, and let's have a look at the half hour of day. So when you're running playback and you're running over a period of time, it's good to look at the strategy performance for the half hour of the day and then choosing an entry time. So that's going to tell you what the best entry times were during that week for the strategy. So this is why you've got the time slots in the strategy. So again, we're trying to put the odds in our favor, you know, for specific times of the day. So the beginning of the day looked pretty good. I know this is some really high amounts over there. It's really high amounts actually. So 7:30 a.m. till 10 a.m. and then from 11 a.m. all the way to, so this value over here, till 1 p.m. So those are just times to look at. This is also a good evening time by the look of it. So from 8:30 p.m. till 11 p.m. So those were times where the strategy had entered really good positions. And you can actually look at the history of that also. So I'm just going to look at the strategy settings. I've got there $50,000 as a max daily target and a max daily loss. So what actually happened is it was trading all the way. Let's count the baseline breaks first of all. So what happens is, this is where you have the losses on the strategies. When the price is running, it's entering trades on a wick, and then that baseline actually goes and breaks to another level. So we had one baseline break. Let's have a look. There's 2, there's 3 baseline breaks. There's 4. There's 5. So yeah, it was 2 baseline breaks. But if you remember watching in the strategy, we actually had the stop, which was a lot higher, and it never actually hit the stop for that. So that is so the price went up and never hit the stop, and then it came down, and the bars continued. So those didn't count. That's 5. Let's have a look. So this was the time where it hit its daily profit target. So if I just go into the thing to center price on scale, so that it basically exited all the open positions because it picked up its daily profit exit. So it didn't trade any of that time up until the new trading day, which was over here. And what happened is it went and broke to a new baseline and entered that and exited over there. So they hit the stop over there. So that's the 6th baseline break, 7. So basically 7 baseline breaks during that period. So that is the playback for this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change some of the settings, and we're going to run a different setup using some of the other features in the strategy.